Yeah.
Okay, we're up to Perek Beis. Now, Perek Aleph is a general idea of the binyan, or as we call it, the hechol. What about its construction, what was in it, and now he's going to begin to start explaining the things that he said were in there. So before, of course, he spoke about a mizbeach. And we learned before already. We know already that there were two mizbechas in the Beis Hamikdash. One mizbeach had a few names for it. Sometimes it's called mizbeach achisin, because it's on the outside. Sometimes it's called mizbeach ha'oila, because every day there was an oil brought on it in the morning and in the afternoon. And inside, in the middle section of the Heichel, which we know as Kodesh, there was a Mizbeach, and that Mizbeach was known as Mizbeach Hazav, or Mizbeach HaTodos. Now, the Mizbeach on the outside was made from stone. Exactly the height and how the width and everything, we're going to learn that later in this Perek. And it's also known as Mizbeach Adama, made from stone, because it was connected to the ground. The Mizbeach that was inside was made from wood, and the wood was covered with gold, and that's why it's called Mizbeach Hazav. And mainly, it was used for Ketaitis. Every morning, they'd make Ketaitis in the Beis Hamikdash. And also, on Yom Kippur, when the Kohen did the Avodah on Yom Kippur, and he had to go to the Kodesh HaKadoshim, and then he took fire in order to make the smoke over there, and there was a korban, and there was sprinkling of the blood. For that, he used the Mizbeach, the inside, the Mizbeach Apnim. So now we're going to start over at Perek Beis, and then I'm going to give a little bit of an introduction to the Mizbeach. Okay, so let's learn Innovanik. Then we'll discuss it a little bit. But Innovanik, it's good to learn the first two halachas in the Rambam. Because those are what they call an introduction to the Mizbeach. If you look at halacha Gimel, it starts with the word Midas HaMizbeach. Now, Midas HaMizbeach means the sizes, the details. That we're going to learn a whole cheshbon, how we go up different parts, like one part on top of the other. And then there was the top where there was the kabbanas, and there was a place where the Kahanim walked around over there to do the Avodah. But now we're learning the Rambam's introduction, so to say. He says, HaMizbeach Mekayma Mechuven B'Yosem. The place of the Mizbeach, the Rambam says, is precise. In other words, it means to say, it's not approximately here. Approximately means it could be off by an inch, we call it approximately. So the Rambam says, no. Mekayma Mechuven B'Yosem. It's precise, exactly where the Mizbeach was. Ve'ein mishanan oisei mimkaimei la'olam. And never could anyone come and change. Like someone may come along and say, it's not good let's move it a little bit so we'll have more space or whatever. There's no such thing as that. You can't move it. It has an exact space where it has to stand. Shenama, Shaitan Pasuk, Zeh Mizbach L'Oilo L'Yisrael. This is the Mizbeach for a korban oil for the Jewish people. Now that I'm going to talk about the Mizbeach, you want to know something about the Mizbeach? He says it's not something new that came up, that when Shlomo built the Beis HaMikdash, he came up with the idea of a Mizbeach. It has a big history. What's the history of the Mizbeach? Sometimes I say, Ubemigdash Nekad Yitzchak Avinu. The Akedah of Yitzchak Avinu, it doesn't mean it doesn't mean the binyan. There was no home there. It was a bare mountain. But it means to say, on the place where the Mizbeach is, that place was exactly where there was the Akedah of Yitzchak. Shenema steht in Pasuk, this beginning of the Parsha, the third Parsha in the Chumash starts the Parsha Lech Lecha. Says the Eibush said to him, "V'lech lecha, you should go El Eretz HaMoriah. You should go to Eretz HaMoriah." Okay, so this is where he sent them. V'nema the Divrei HaYomim, and in Divrei HaYomim is like the last sefer from the Tanakh, where it's sort of makes like a summary of a lot of the history that's in Tanakh. Steht dort, Vayichal Shlomo libnos es Beis Hashem b'Yisrael b'Har HaMoriah asher nira l'David Avihu asher heichen b'mokom David the Goyden Arnon Hayavasi. Okay, now, in other words, the place where the Beis HaMikdash was built, it was a piece of land. It was a mountain, but it was a piece of land. When David got the command from Hashem to build the Beis HaMikdash, they had to buy a place. They had to buy it belonged to somebody. So he's saying over here, it belonged to Arnon Hayavasi. Now, a goyden means a place where they make the tefillah. Like I explained many times, that when they harvest the tefillah, so they go around, well today you have everything done with trucks and everything, but on Molgat side it was done with animals and with the horse and the wagon, and they would cut it, they would bring all the tefillah. They didn't bring the tefillah into the city. They made a garden. That was a place where they would bring over there the tefillah, and they would work the tefillah. Over there they would separate the kernels from the shaft, from the stalks, and they would be pure. Once they had the kernels already all cleaned up, then they would take them into the city, But over there they did all preparation. So it's find a whole story in Tanakh, how David collected money from each Shevet, a certain amount of money, and he bought this piece of land on which they're going to build a Beis HaMikdash. So happened that this piece of land on which he built the Beis HaMikdash didn't belong to them. It was because the Yidden came in there to Yisrael now. They were from the nations. They were goyim that lived over there before. So he's telling you over here that this was the place where they built the Beis HaMikdash. And he says over here, he brings you a story that Shlomo began to build the house for Hashem on Har HaMoriah. So Har HaMoriah is the place where the Eibush told Avram to take Yitzchak. Eretz HaMoriah. So he's showing you the connection, how it's all considered. Now, incidentally, I don't know if anyone ever paid attention, but you notice it'll be a strange thing. We all know, No. We all know a strange thing over here. How do you spell David?
With the youth.
Yeah. How did the youth come in over here? So he says that it's in Divrei Yayamim. Interesting thing I want to tell you is that we say every day in davening, Vayivarach David, the whole thing, B'chora Shimei Abris, where does all that come from? It all comes from Divrei Yayamim. You know, in the Sidurim over here, in the Sidurim over here, we look up by, let's see, there is, on Vayivarach David, there's a little vav on it, on top. The vav goes to a footnote. Top of Adam is told us Aaron. That was the name of someone that gives you all the sources where all the pieces of davening in. So for Vayivarach David, he gives you a source, Divrei Yayamim, that it's from Divrei Yayamim. And this whole thing over here is all from Divrei Yayamim. And over here, David is spelled with a Yud in Divrei Yayamim.
So why we spell it?
So the question is, why did they put a Yud into David? There's maybe different reasons, but some say that the reason that's put a Yud into David is because what saved David is the Yud. What do I mean they saved David the Yud? There were big Lamdim in the time of David that they said, how does David come to be a king? He's also Lavi B'Kol. Why is he also Lavi B'Kol? Because who was his mother? Or his grandmother? When you go back to his ancestors, it was Rus, right? And Rus was a Moaviyah, from Moav. And what does the Torah say about Moav? Yahweh Amayni Ume'avi B'Kal Hashem. Gam Dara Siri Yahweh B'Kal Hashem. Well, Marshall, if he's an Egyptian, so an Egyptian after 3 daughters could intermarry. But Ammon and Moav, they're forbidden forever, right? So these people came up, there was Dayag and others, that they came up with the argument that how's David to be a melech? A melech, made him yet a melech yet. He's also loved because they made him a melech. What was the heta that David was not chas v'sholem also loved because? Because the Chazal say, it's a Gemara in Yevamis, that the Gemara says that if you carefully analyze the pasuk, you'll see a certain thing in the pasuk. The pasuk says, "La Yavai," and you remember the next word, "Amayni ume'avi b'kal Hashem." Why doesn't it say, "La Yavai Aman u'Moav b'kal Hashem"? We always know them as the nations of Aman and Moav. So it should have said, "La Yavai Aman u'Moav b'kal Hashem," just like it says. It doesn't say Mamziri, it says Mamzer B'Kal Hashem. Why is it? So the Gemara says, you know what the Torah put in the Yud? Because the Torah is giving you a message. The message is, Amayni v'lay amaynis, Moavi v'lay Moavis. A man from Ammon and Moav can't come in B'Kal Hashem. But a woman from Ammon and Moav is admitted to Kal Hashem. Because it says, Ma'avis, Ma'avi, so it's saying Ma'avis. Rus was Rus HaMa'avi, right? A Ma'aviyah. So she's a Ma'avis. Therefore, David, who is a descendant of Rus, Kakab Hashem. So what saved David? What saved David?
The Yud.
The Yud. That's why in Divrei Yayamim or in davening, Or in other places, they also spell the name David with a Yud.
Why why they don't continue doing that?
Huh?
So why they don't continue if that's
I'm telling you, that's why in some places they do. But his name was David without a Yud. When Shmuel went to find him,
but his whole schus is from the Yud.
but that's his schut. But when Shmuel went to find him, he was looking for David without a Yud, and he found this fellow that he didn't know if that's who it meant, and he was told that this is him. Over there, it says David, Daled, Vav, Daled. But over here, I just wanted to.
Anything that ends with S is
Okay,
good.
now let's learn base. So we're going Aleph that the Mizbeach is not something new that Shlomo came up with when he built the. See, because you have to tell us this, because the truth is that there was always Mizbeach before Shlomo built the Beis Hamikdash. There was Mizbeach all over Eretz Yisrael. It was called a Bama. But once Shlomo built the Beis Hamikdash, that was his Nesra Bamas. The Bamas became forbidden. You couldn't use it, but you must come over here. So like to say, this is like the official one. All they had till now was sort of unofficial. But the official one was this, and not that Shlomo came up with it, but this goes back to the Hara Maria that Yitzchak was on the Akedah. Now let's go weiter. Now the Rambam says, U'Masaida b'yad hakol. Masaida means it's something which is transmitted from generation to generation. Like how do you know? Like Moshe Kibbutz said, Masada Yeshua. It's a Masida. It's something that was given out. It says Masaida b'yad hakol. It's something that was transmitted by everyone. Sha'amakam Shabona by David Ushlomo HaMizbeach, the place where David and Shlomo built the Mizbeach, Begoiden Aravna, who Hamakam Shabona by Avram HaMizbeach, V'okad Olav Yitzchak. In other words, before he was talking about the location of the Mizbeach. The location was on Hara Maria. But now he's telling you the place on the Har Gufa, if it was at this side or this side, wherever it was, he said, the place where it was built, so that they had a Messiah that like many times people say, did the Rebbe stand here or did he stand over here? They want to know exactly where the Rebbe stood. You want to know what's the difference? He stood in 7-7. No, we want to know exactly where the Rebbe stood. Okay? So he's telling you now also, when it comes to the Beis Hamikdash, there's the Hara Maria, but where exactly what's the difference? No, it's not the what. It's exactly where Avram built the Mizbeach. Sheva Yarech Ha'Eitzim, say every day in the Akedah. V'okad Olav Yitzchak, and on it he bound Yitzchak. V'hu Amokim Shabona by Noach Kishiyotza Min HaTeva. When Noach came out of the table, what did he do? He made a Mizbeach. In fact, he took into the Mizbeach more of the kosher animals. Why? He should have kabbanas to make a Mizbeach when he comes out. He was already preparing for the future. V'hu Mizbeach shehikav all of Cain v'Hevel. By the Torah tells you a story about Cain and Hevel that they made a Mizbeach, and the Eibishter accepted the carbon from Hevel and not from Cain. By Yifan Hashem, the Eibishter accepted it. Uboy hikav Adam Harishain, Korban, Kishenivra, when he was created, state that Adam was makav a Korban that day. Umishom Nivra, and the Eibishter took the earth, how did the Eibishter make Adam? He made Adam by taking earth. We have to understand this a little bit, because there's another matter that says that it took earth from all over the world. And that's why Adam has a shaykhus through the whole world. But he's saying that from Kishneva, I'm sorry, Kishneva, Misham Nivra, from there, from that earth, he was created. And Amar Chachamim, the Chachamim said, what's the message of taking that earth to make a Mizbeach? The message is because Mimakam Kaparosai Nivra, from the place where he was forgiven, in other words, that Adam did something wrong, right? So he was forgiven. He was forgiven. He made a korban. He was forgiven. So from the place where he was created, that's where he got his forgiveness. So the question that comes over here is, the first question that comes, he wants to tell you how ancient the Mizbeach is, right? So from here, it's very strange. He says it's like he would say like this: the Mizbeach is not only 100 years old, but it's also 200 years old. It's not only 200 years old; it's also 300 years old. It's not only 300. Look what's going on over here. He's telling you that the Mizbeach was the Mizbeach which Abraham built. Then he's telling you it's the Mizbeach which Noach built. Then he's telling you that's the Mizbeach that Adam built. That's not the way you describe it. You should have said it's the Mizbeach that Adam built, the Mizbeach that Cain built, the Mizbeach that, what's his name, Noach built, and then told you that it's also the Mizbeach that Abraham built. And that's something that we have to explain in the Rambam. We'll leave that for tomorrow, in Mitzvah Shem.